Hey everyone, I'm Brent Skarkey from the State Chamber. It's an election year, and we're excited to kick off a brand new interview series on OklahomaDecides.com. The site, the best way to stay up to date with the latest candidate developments in our state. The State Chamber's Chad Warmington going one-on-one with statewide office candidates to give the business community and Oklahomans a great look at what the men and women who are running for office are all about. The interview does not constitute an endorsement from the State Chamber. It's just a place where they can be heard and voters can learn more.
We're excited to be joined by Lisa Janloo. Lisa is running for the Labor Commissioner in the state of Oklahoma. Yes. Thank you for being and coming in today and spending some time with us.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, great. Well, I'm going to give them a little bit of your bio.
Okay.
Small business owner, community leader. She's got a decade of experience in workforce development with local civic organizations across Oklahoma. Served in leadership roles, including vice president of the Spencer Chamber of Commerce. Go
Yes.
Chambers of Commerce.
Yes.
We're always about that. She's really focused extensively on workforce development initiatives, particularly supporting individuals re-entering the workforce through job training and employment assistance. And so, again, seeking the office of Labor Commissioner, we're super excited to talk about it with you.
Yes, great. I'm excited to talk about it.
So I'm going to start you off with a big picture question.
Okay.
So your vision for Oklahoma, so big picture, but then how do you want to execute kind of your vision for Oklahoma through the Labor Commissioner?
Well, you know, I always say when I look at the bigger picture and workforce for Oklahoma, it right now is a very vital time because education is so low, and so we have to partner really with our education system, because if we want great quality employees and so our businesses can thrive, because we know how much employees bring to businesses, they have to have the good quality education.
That's right.
And so when I think about the bigger picture to me is also working with education so we can get people into workforce so businesses are thriving across Oklahoma.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that's what's motivating you to get up every day and campaign for this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Besides, I have 3 kids that are in our schools, and the last 10 years I've been involved with schools, with the workforce. So when you're I always use the word connected. When you're connected in your communities, you see what the goods, the bads, the hurting. So
That's right. That's right. So we've been talking at the Chamber a lot about our Oklahoma Competes initiative. And so what that is it's kind of a new way for us to look at how competitive we are economically, both regionally and nationally.
Okay.
So give me your opinion on how can the Labor Commissioner, in the role that you would be playing, kind of contribute, how can you contribute to Oklahoma's long-term economic competitiveness through the work as Labor Commissioner?
Well, to be able to compete with pretty much anyone, it goes back to education. We have to have educated, quality people in our workforce. And then to make sure that we can support our businesses, because when they're making money and employees make money, they put back into our cities and our communities, and the economy is driving. That is how we're able to keep up with other cities and states that are bringing in money. So really it starts with education, giving the resources and tools so they know which pathway they can take.
Yeah.
And also help small businesses. You know, a lot of small businesses, even in our rural communities, they don't know where to turn. And so we need a Labor Commissioner in there that knows from A to Z to help small businesses thrive. So when they're doing good, we're all doing good.
That's right. So that vision is for you and again, being in, pro small business, making us more competitive is making small businesses more competitive.
Absolutely.
Is that how you're thinking about
Absolutely.
it? Yeah.
Because we hear all the time, small businesses are backbone of our communities. And we noticed that with the recent government shutdown. Who jumped in and kicked in and helped our communities is our small businesses.
Right.
And so we see it, we need some of the big guys coming into the state too, right? And we do a lot of incentives and things like that, but we also need to remember who supports all these other efforts that we're doing in our communities.
Yeah. I love that, and I think that's a great answer. And I think what we're particularly focused on is part of the Oklahoma Competes initiative is this is a great place to do business. Oklahoma is. We've got super competitive regulatory environment, legal environment, tax environment, low cost of living. We have all the things that make the makings of a really great place to do business. What's holding us back is kind of on the workforce and education side, so you nailed it.
Yes.
And then really on the innovation and entrepreneurship side, which is driven by education and workforce. And so as you think about, the role of Labor Commissioner, what do you think that the commission can do to do a better job? Not to criticize the current administration, that's not the point, but what can we do to do a better job of of your offices contributing to the development of Oklahoma's workforce? What are some specific things that you've been thinking about you'd like to see done?
Well, like you said, it's nothing to criticize the current labor commissioner, but we want to make sure we're very modernized, and that's another area to compete with other states and other cities across this nation. I think there's a lot within the labor department that is not up to date with the systems and helping our businesses, workforce, and for many different roles. As labor commissioner is more like a compliance department, making sure people are getting paid what they're supposed to be paying, make sure workplaces are safe. And how to do that is being able to connect with our businesses across the state to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. I always say I want to erase the image of the scary labor department, that we're there to partner and help out. So
yeah, I love your description of a compliance. I mean, that's probably a good way to describe it to somebody who hasn't any idea what the labor department does. That's a really well done, and I think what it also affords you is you can do that mandated part, but then it gives you some flexibility to go lean in some other things.
That's right.
And so is there anything else kind of in that vein, specific, maybe a certain program you're like, I really want to go explore that, maybe in that workforce space that you'd be interested in pursuing?
Well, some of my background, I've worked with a lot of men and women who have been incarcerated, juvenile, who've been in juvenile detention, coming back out in the workforce. And within the 10 years, some of the programs we've seen, like last year, they go into cosmetology. Over 220 students, only 2 of them went back. And so when we can offer them some hope,
right,
they're going to take it.
Yeah.
And so with my experience, I want to bring that aspect in. We're going to follow all the laws. That's what the labor commissioner does. We have to enforce the laws that are made in Oklahoma. But the unique thing about me is because of my experience being connected with businesses, community members, nonprofits, that I'm able to know where to connect those dots to make sure everyone has what they need to succeed. I always say we need to give people a pathway to purpose.
Ooh.
Yes.
Another phrase we're going to steal. You'll probably be hearing us talking about that. We will credit you when we do.
Well, thank you.
Pathway to purpose. That's good stuff.
Yes.
I do, and I'll give Commissioner Osborne credit. She's very passionate about kind of pathways and reentry as well. And one of the things that the chamber has worked on over the last few years is trying to understand, we need more workers in our system. And you've got this great pipeline of talent coming out of our correctional system. And how do we lean in, demystify what that means to hire folks that have had involvement with the justice system, because there's a talent pool there.
That's right.
And I'm really glad to hear you have the experience that you've already had, but there's plenty of ways for us to upskill and train those folks. You're right, because one of the best ways to prevent recidivism, get them a job.
That's right.
And so super excited about that. Tell us, going to change the tone a little bit. Talk about your personal perspective on free enterprise. What does free enterprise mean to you?
Okay, so, I don't know if you know much about my personal background. My dad is from Iran. So when we think of free enterprise and for people coming from countries overseas and how restricted they are, I have a different view and aspect of being an American, being an Oklahoman, and having those opportunities. So when someone had a question for me not too long ago, because welders get their license from the labor department. And they're like, well, what would you tell them if they get their license, and why shouldn't they go work for someone? Why should they open their own business? And I laughed because I didn't realize that was a serious question. But when we say that, you have the sky's the limit of opportunities when you become your own business. And so that's kind of how I look at it. Yeah.
So the definition for you is free enterprise means government stays out of the way.
Absolutely.
And I think the reason we ask it, and our members really care about this, and we ask this question and have got to do a better job, frankly, of digging into candidates for all offices, because it colors your view of how you're going to be a regulator too. And there's a very clear balance that you have to strike as labor commissioner between, over-regulation and under-regulation. You've got to keep people safe, got to keep workers safe, you've got to mandate that part of your job. But that perspective on being pro-small business, being pro-free enterprise, really needs to kind of be the truth teller on that. So you have any concerns about where that regulatory role runs up against your perspective on free enterprise?
And no shot against anyone. And I think when we look at certain political seats and roles, we really have to dig in on everyone's background and why my business background is so essential to this position. I'm not terming out of any legislative seat, and no shade to anybody else, but being involved in understanding of government over-regulating and what that does to small businesses, large businesses, and how that affects families. But what we can do as a labor department is there are a lot of bad actors too.
Sure.
So I think where's that fine line of how much experience does the next labor commissioner know as to where to see what bad acting versus our everyday Oklahomans that are just trying to make a living for themselves, and how do we stay in our lane but still help them be successful, and then really go after the ones that we need to.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's really important. The Labor Department has really great ways to settle those disputes. You got ALJs, you got a system, administrative law system that really, as the leader, you need to make sure it's fairly adjudicating those.
That's right.
And that's a really important part. But what's important for us is that, you believe in free enterprise, and so you're going to keep that balance in check.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great. Good answer. One of the things that the department does as well is you enforce wage and hour laws in Oklahoma. So wanted to get your take on State Question 832. It's the minimum wage increase that's coming up. But there's really two components to it. I want to really get your take on both. One, there's the minimum wage increase, but then there's the tie that will be, future increases will be tied to the consumer price index. Kind of give me your thoughts on 832 overall, and then maybe get into the specifics of the question.
Okay, so as you can assume, I get that question all the time.
Yeah.
Now, that state question itself, I am against. I feel like it's too broad. It really can hurt our small businesses. I mean, I have a handful of employees, and if to think about over so many years, I eventually have to pay them $30 an hour. That'd be more than probably what I'm bringing home, right? But when I look at minimum wage increase, period, back before 2009, the state had an increase every year of 70 cents. So from 2000 to 9, about 18 years, we have not had a penny increase. You see Social Security has gone up the last several years, 2 to 3% each year. You see the state elected people just gave themselves a raise 30 to 100%. So people are getting the raises. And what I say as a business person is, when we're saying we want to keep people off the system, we want them to have hope, a pathway to purpose. People got to come to the table and see what makes sense. I always said maybe $8 an hour should be our next step, and that's kind of where I'm at now. And be able to open up rooms and doors to different work path places, so when people can get into skilled jobs or training, they have a better job, they get paid more money, and then that minimum wage is not something we're really stuck on, because it may be a huge deal in the next 10 years. We're short on skilled labor.
Give me your perspective on the CPI portion of it. I mean, the thing is, I don't even know if I really disagree with you. The market has already spoken. The market wage is much higher than the minimum wage, and so you could see some sort of increase to that. That would still probably be under what the market's already paying. But the CPI portion, the portion that every year, no matter what, is going to be measured at CPI and will increase after that fifth year of the increase. That's particularly concerning. That takes that power out of the hands of elected officials. Does that concern you?
Oh, absolutely. And my question to that is, who came up with that idea? What economist or what professor, where did they get that from?
Yeah.
Because I say all the time, labor commissioner, I don't have all the answers of $8 is just something, maybe my common sense of a number. But there has to be a bunch of people at the table to see what makes sense for Oklahoma.
Yeah.
We're not California, we're not New York, we're not Florida.
Yeah.
But we need to see what makes sense for our businesses. And that means small business owner, large business owners all need to be at that table as well.
That's right. Well, I'll answer the question for you. It was not Oklahomans that came up with that question. To be clear, that money and the support is coming from outside of the state. And I think there's noble intention maybe with what they're doing, but you nailed it. It's going to be devastating to small businesses. It's going to be devastating to rural businesses. It's going to be devastating to agricultural businesses.
Right.
Younger people aren't going to be able to have the opportunities. And so the very people that they claim it's going to help, it's going to hurt.
Absolutely.
And so that's why we're so adamantly opposed to it as well. Kind of considering, as we kind of wrap up here, tell us give us the closing kind of argument on your candidacy, why you're excited about running, and what gets you up and gets you motivated to get out of bed every day and go campaign and do your real job.
What got me into this race is because I saw a need in our education, a need in our workforce. The last 10 years, I have been boots on the ground working in communities, like I said, and not to be repetitive, but people need to know I'm not just here because it's campaign season. I've been doing it for over a decade. Recently, there was a county commissioner meeting about raising sales tax. I was the only one, and even in my race, that showed up to talk against it because what that would do for small businesses. We can't say the state question is going to hurt small business and then ignore the sales tax increase. So I am very knowledgeable of a lot that's going on across the state because I'm connected and I'm involved, and I continue to do that as a larger scale as the next labor commissioner. It's something that I'm very passionate about, and I think a lot of times when we vote people in, we see that passion gone. It's just kind of the next job. I have the experience, I have the education, the knowledge, and the passion, and I think that sets me apart. So. Well,
that was excellent closing. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for one, coming in today and talking to us, and two, thank you for being willing to serve. I mean, you're finding out. I mean, it's a sacrifice, time away from your family and your business and your friends to go serve in public office. But we also really believe if we don't have good people step up and serve, then we get the government we deserve. So thank you for coming in today, and thank you for being willing to run for this office.
Thank you for having me.
Take care.
You.
You bet. Thanks.
Thanks.